Well, let's get talking now. Dr. Leke Ebenezer is an economist and he joins us now. Hello, Doctor. Good to have you join us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, too. Well, the federal government of Nigeria launched Africa's first central bank digital currency, that's CBDC, on Monday, 25th October 2021. However, a lot of people are still finding it hard to grasp the idea behind the CBDC, that's the central bank digital currency. Help us understand it more.
I want you to come again with the question. I didn't really get that.
All right, we're saying that the central bank of the federal government launched the eNAIRA on the 25th of October 2021, and since then it feels like a lot of Nigerians still do not understand its workings. They have a lot of questions about it, so we're saying help us demystify this, help us understand it more. What exactly is this eNAIRA? How does it work? How does it profit the Nigeria? These are some of the things we're looking at talking about in this space.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. The Nigerian government realized that they have to fall in line with the rest of the world if we are going to move economically. And most of the rest of the world the majority of them are moved away from the physical cash that you see that you and I are using. And so when they realize that if you want an economy to grow and you want to get across to the vulnerable part of the economy, and then you want businesses to expand without limitation, there is need for you to be able to do transactions without the physical cash that you and I see. And of course, in order to be able to be on the same page with the rest of the world in terms of development and business expansion, there was necessity for introduction of the eNAIRA. So the Nigerian government now had to develop a framework as to how the eNAIRA is going to operate, what are the benefits, and then what are the likely challenges that can affect it, and how those challenges are to be tackled. So there was a lot of back and forth, several meetings by CBN, the SEC, and a lot of regulatory bodies. And eventually they came up with a framework that, okay, eNAIRA has come to stay, given the fact that if you want to grow in line with other economies of the world, you just have to introduce eNAIRA into the Nigerian system.
All right, let me come in here.
Some of the reasons that were given for introducing the eNAIRA, of course, is to facilitate financial inclusion, because they realize that financial inclusion is a major issue in Nigeria that is affecting development the way it's supposed to be. So the federal government now say, look, for us to be able to promote financial inclusion, for us to be able to enable welfare disbursement to citizens, for us to facilitate diaspora remittances, for us to be able to improve availability and usability of central bank money, also increase revenue and tax collection, support resilient payment system, and also improve efficiency of cross-border payments. There is need for eNAIRA to come to stay. And of course, these were the factors they look at, and of course, it has come to stay. And basically, it is to enable peer-to-peer payments and cutting out middlemen when it comes to transaction of goods and services within the economy.
All right, let me come in here. You said a lot of things talking about the fact that, it would increase remittances, foster cross-border trade, improve financial inclusion, and enable a lot of things. Now, how well, are we on course to achieving these things?
Yeah, of course, the truth is that if you look at about the 8 parameters that necessitated the introduction of eNAIRA, and I want to rate the performance on a scale of 1 to 10. I would say, in my own case, I'm going to give 2 over 10. And I said that because it has not really performed why the reason why the eNAIRA was introduced or launched is not really performing what it is introduced for. In fact, when it comes to facilitation of financial inclusion, yes, of course, a lot of policies have been rolled out in that case, and of course, the issue of USSD to enable people who are not internet who are not connected to the internet, but then can still do transactions. Of course, you have seen the performance of that. But then, when it comes to welfare disbursement to citizens, it has not really performed that duty. When it comes to diaspora remittances, of course, there has been a lot of issues on that also. When it comes to facilitating, reducing cost of processing cash, the question is, a lot of people are poor, and because a lot of people are poor, some of them still want to relate with cash, and that is really affecting the performance of the eNAIRA performance in terms of reducing cost of processing cash. And also, all other factors I have mentioned, eNAIRA has not really performed the duty that it was created for. And that's why I said for me, the average, I'm going to give 2 over 10 in the performance of the eNAIRA.
Well, let's talk about the USSD, which you mentioned. I mean, it's actually a very ambitious plan for the federal government. During the unveiling, they mentioned so many things that they hope to achieve. They were even talking about how that at the end of the day would have this contribute $29 billion to the Nigerian economy in the next 10 years. These are some of the things, the ideas that the eNAIRA, seeks to achieve. But now with the introduction of the USSD, tell us, what are the things that are likely to change? How is it going to change the dynamics?
Now, the idea behind the USSD is the fact that when you enable people to be able to do transactions without internet, now that will enhance a lot of people that are transacting businesses to be more included in business transactions. So, and the primary implication of that is that it will increase the volume of transaction, and when the volume of transaction is increased, of course, the economy will expand, because one of the factors that increase the GDP of the country is consumption. So when there is a rise in consumption, definitely the GDP is going to rise. And of course, when you look at it from the angle of the government, when there are a lot of transactions as a result of introduction of USSD, that can also help the government in remittances, tax. A lot of people, because most of all these transactions that are going on, so as I was saying, you see, if any government is targeting expansion in an economy, one of the ways to do that is through USSD. And I said the idea behind it is the fact that when more people are given access to transact businesses, people that do not have internet, they can still go ahead to do businesses with USSD codes. Now, that is going to help the volume of consumption to increase. And when volume of consumption increases, the GDP will increase. And of course, it will also help government remittances. Government will be able convenience and comfort, no need of internet. When you are doing your business, you can work out, you can do businesses outside the banking hour. And so all of this is targeted to if more people can do businesses without the bank, without the internet, and without, irrespective of the environment they are, once you expand consumption, government ultimately is going to benefit from that, and of course it will enhance, development of the economy.
All right, let me come in here. I am looking at some kind of limitation, because when we talk about financial inclusion, it means we are targeting the unbanked. What is the purchasing power of the unbanked? How much of an effect would this be?
Given the fact that the informal sector of Nigeria is about 45%, what that means is that you have a lot of people that are not really doing transactions through the bank. And when you are not able to capture transactions or high volume of transactions through the bank, that is a problem for the economy, because you won't be able to determine the level of supply of money. And if you can't determine the level of supply of money in the economy, you won't be able to tackle inflation very well as a government. So it is important, looking at the dynamics of Nigerian economy, government realized that we have a higher volume of transactions going on outside bank. And so for us to be able to capture some of those transactions, it is important for us to bring in this USSD so that can help us to track transactions outside the bank, and that can help us to predict very well the supply of money in the economy, and then that can help us to fight inflation or deflation depending on the one that is plaguing the economy. So for me, it's a right move, because you can't imagine the number of people that are doing businesses outside bank. And if those people are not captured, you cannot predict correctly the level of performance of any economy.
All right, let me come in here. Thank you for that perspective. Now, Africa's first digital currency, that's the eNAIRA, has been ranked #1 global retail CBDC. And of course, app downloads have jumped to 756,000 from 700,000 that was seen in December. Now, looking at all of these numbers, this is within a period of about 8 months. Do you think this is commendable? And what does this say really about Nigerians' acceptance of eNAIRA?
I'm sorry, I need you to come with that question. I was distracted when you started that question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I was talking about the fact that Nigeria's eNAIRA has been ranked #1 global retail CBDC, that's central bank digital currency. That's #1. And then we also see that the downloads, that's the app downloads, have jumped from 700,000 that was seen in December last year to 756,000, which is the current number. Now, all of these happened within a period of 8 months. Now, the question is, do you think this is commendable? And when we say Nigeria is #1 globally, who are we competing with?
Okay, thank you very much. When you want to check out whether it has really met the parameters you set it for. And of course, there were 8 basic parameters that brought about the launching of eNAIRA. So the ranking was specifically speaking to the fact that the processes that were involved in the launching, and of course, the simplicity it brings in transaction is what is necessitating that ranking. It's not about when you are looking at the performance vis-a-vis what it is created for. But when you are looking at the processes that are involved and how easy it is going to work, so you can rank it. The ranking was based on that performance. So, and having said that, for me, like I said, playing around figure of metrics is not what we need right now. Because we have to look at what exactly has eNAIRA done in terms of performance of what it's created for. And I have given my own benchmark that, look, as far as I'm concerned, the performance on the scale of 1 to 10 for me is 2, because if you look at the 8 parameters why they brought it out for, is only fulfilling 2 out of 8. But when it comes to the processes that are involved, very simple, very straightforward, and very direct compared to some other countries. And that's why you can see that ranking like that.
All right, so what are the things you hope to see in the coming days, things that would probably make you increase your ranking of the eNAIRA?
Okay, for me, I expect that, those 8 parameters I give you, the eNAIRA, we focus on them in the area of, increase in remittances to the government, especially diaspora remittances. Because in the last few months, there has been decrease in remittances, and of course, that has also influenced the FDI. And so, if I can see significant improvement in that area, and I can also see significant improvement in expansion of trade, and I can also see significant improvement in terms of business collaborations as a result of this eNAIRA between Nigeria and other countries, of course, then I can see, what the eNAIRA is created for, it is really performing the function.
All right, now finally, during the launch of eNAIRA, the federal government missed no word in making it clear that, it was looking forward to cross-border transactions on the platform. But now we have IMF warning that, talking about this particular expansion, saying it could pose new money laundering and terrorism financing risks. What's your thought about this?
Yeah, I have always said that when you want to solve a problem, when you want to cut a tree, you don't cut the branches, you go to the roots. As much as government is coming up with a lot of strategies to boost the economy through a lot of means, which eNAIRA is part of it, the question is, what is government doing about leakages? You can't only be talking about injection in an economy. You have to look at leakages, because if there are too much leakages, the injection will not have significant effect. So how well has Nigeria solved the problem of money laundering? If you ask me, the problem of money laundering has not really been tackled very well, and that is why the IMF came up with that kind of statement. It's not enough for you to say, look, you want to solve the problem of transaction leakage. But then, what are you doing to money laundering? How are you ensuring that the introduction of this eNAIRA is solving money laundering problems? So, for me, the government needs to do a lot in the area of money laundering, because if they cannot solve that problem, we'll continue to go back to the same spot. And that's what is affecting the foreign exchange market right now. A lot of people are using that as a conduit pipe for illicit funds, and that's why government is going back and forth on that sector, and that's what is affecting us now. So if eNAIRA is not well managed also, the same problem we have in the foreign exchange, we might be having it also in this eNAIRA application. And that's what the IMF is pointing our attention to.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Leke Ebenezer, an economist, for coming on the show today and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.